Hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. This is the fourth video of the Tableau Say Hello series. In this video, we will be going through the data pane in Tableau. Before we start about the data pane in Tableau, I would like to give you a real life analogy. If we consider Tableau workbook as the canvas for a painting, the data pane can be considered as the palette. We can make use of the fields from the data pane to build the visualizations in Tableau. So, where is the data pane located in Tableau? The data pane is located on the left side of the Tableau workspace as part of the sidebar. We can toggle between the data pane and analytics pane by clicking the tabs at the top of the sidebar. Before going into the details of the data pane, let us first identify the main areas in the data pane. The first area is the data source connections that is located at the top of the data pane. The second area is the field section from where we can drag and drop the various fields into the view while building the visualization in Tableau. Apart from these sections, there are other minor subsections or features that we will cover later in the video. Let us now start with the data source connection. This data source connection is based on the data source that we set up in the data source page. Shown here is an example where there is only one data source connection. However, there can be a situation when we can have more than one data connection available. Let us now connect to a new data source and creates its mod data model. I'm connecting to another Microsoft Excel file, creating a data model for that. Now, when we navigate back to the data pane, we see that there are two data connections present in the data pane. We need to click on the required connection to select it. Tableau will display the fields for the selected connection in the data pane. So if you see here, as soon as we click the required data connection, the contents of the data pane dynamically change. By doing this selection, we are ensuring that a data source connection has been selected for further downstream analysis. Next is the fields section. Below the data source connections in the data pane are the various fields that are available in the currently selected data source. After connecting to the data and building the data model, the columns of any data set are available as fields in the data pane. Now, before proceeding further, we need to first understand the two actions that are performed by Tableau whenever we connect to a data source. The first action is the type assignment. This is the data type that is automatically assigned to each field, such as number, date and time, boolean, and geographic. This can be checked by clicking the icon on the left side of the field in the data pane. We will get the context menu displaying the current data type of the select field. If required, we can change the data type to a valid one as per our requirement. The second action is the role assignment. This is the role that is assigned to each field. by Tableau. Tableau basically splits the fields present in the data set or data source into dimensions and measures, and also specifies it whether it is discrete or continuous. This can be checked by right clicking any field in the data pane, and from the context menu we need to click on describe. We will see a role field which is mentioned in the describe field dialog box which pops up. In this case, the category field has a role of discrete dimension. The fields that appear in the data pane are mainly categorized into dimensions and measures. Dimensions are displayed above the gray line, and measures below the gray line for each table or folder. In some cases, a table or folder might contain only dimensions or only measures to start with, as is the case with this data source connection. For the purpose of understanding what are the other fields that might be present in the data pane, let us close the existing data sources in the workbook and connect to the sample superstore dataset that comes preloaded with Tableau under the saved data sources section in the connect pane of the Tableau start page. So let me first close the existing data sources. I will connect to the sample superstore which is part of the saved data sources. If you see here, apart from the dimensions and the measures in the data pane, there are certain other fields such as the calculated fields. For example, here the profit ratio is the calculated field in this data set. We have other fields such as the sets, like for example, you have the top customers by profit, and we also have parameters that are displayed below the existing fields which are present in the data pane in the common area. Apart from these, you have certain Tableau generated fields, for example, the measure names, latitude, longitude, and the measure values. Next, let us try and understand what are dimensions and measures in the data pane. Dimensions are fields that contain qualitative values, such as you have region, dates, or geographical information. We can use dimensions to slice and dice the data. That includes categorizing, segmenting, and filtering the data. Dimensions affect the level of detail in the view. Examples of dimensions include order date, ship mode, and segment, to name a few. On the other hand, measures are fields that contain numeric, quantitative values that can be measured. We can apply math or calculations to them and aggregate them. By default, whenever we drag a measure into a view, Tableau applies an aggregation to that measure. Let us try and drag and drop the sales measure into the view. As you can see, the measure comes along with the pre-populated aggregation here. In this case, it is the sum by default. Examples of measures can be sales, profit, quantity. As I had mentioned, there are few additional features in the data pane. To search for fields in the data pane, we can click into the search bar at the top of the data pane under the data sources. As we type in the search box, the contents of the data pane are filtered to show the items that contain the type string. In this case, let us enter the letters CUS. And you can see that the data pane will show the fields as customer name and top customers by profit. Let us clear this search box. We can also filter the data pane to show only certain types of fields. This was a search improvement in the data pane that was introduced in Tableau version 2020.3. What we need to do is we need to click on the filter by icon next to the search box to show the clickable list of options, which includes the calculation, dimension, measure, and fields that contain comments. So in our case, let us click the calculation. So here we are listed with only the profit ratio, which is the only calculated field currently present in this selected data source. We can clear the filter by using the X in the search box. The last feature which is present in the data source is that we can see the underlying data by clicking the view data icon, which is present beside the search box in the data pane. So once we click it, we get the Tableau data for each field in the data source listed by the table. As you can see in the present data model, there are three tables present: the order, people, and the returns. Let us now go over some of the other common tasks that we can perform in the data pane apart from the tasks that we have already covered, that is, searching, filtering, and checking the underlying data. We can view the context menu for a data source by right clicking the data source name and selecting the required action from this context menu. Example, renaming the data source or extracting the data. We can also modify the fields using the context menu of the fields. If you right click the field, we will get the context menu that provides the various options that we can perform. Of course, this context menu will vary based on the data type of the field. Apart from these common operations, there are certain other features in the data pane that help in organizing and customizing the fields. We can click on the drop down arrow next to the view data icon. This will display the context menu that contains many options including grouping and sorting. As you can see, the default grouping option will be grouped by data source table. If required, we can select the group by folder option. Next, we need to select the fields for which the folder needs to be created. So in this case, let us select these two fields, the order date and order ID. Right click, folders. Let us do a create folder and let us give a meaningful name. In the now we see that the fields are included in a folder like structure in the data pane. If required, we can include other fields in this particular folder. We can just drag and drop the field, you can select it and drag and drop the field into the folder area. Let us undo this. Alternatively, we can do a right click of the required field and go to the folders and say add to folder. It will get added. We can remove a field from a folder by right clicking the field inside the folder and selecting folders, remove from folder. In addition, we can do an expand and collapse of the folders by selecting the appropriate options in the context menu. If we do a collapse all, it will collapse the present folder structure. In addition to the grouping, we can configure how the fields are sorted in the data pane. The default sort option is sort by name, where the fields are arranged in alphabetical order according to their field aliases. The second option is the sort by data source order, where the fields are arranged in the order they are listed in the underlying data source. Apart from these two options, there are several other options like creating calculated fields, creating parameters, hide the unused fields, and show hidden fields. This completes the video on the data pane. If you have found this video useful, please like the video and subscribe to my channel for the latest updates. I will meet you in my next video. Until then, take care and bye.